4, 3, 2. All right, welcome to I Got Accepted, Now What? This is a webinar presented by Futureology. We are the college and career counselors of Capital Unified, and we're very happy to have all of you tonight to learn more about what are your next steps that you need to fulfill after you graduate high school. All right, if you have not, please complete the pre-survey. I do see some new folks coming in. So go ahead and you can either scan the QR code or you can also click the link in the chat. So give yourselves a moment to complete the pre-survey. It doesn't take too long to complete. So maybe give it a minute or two so we can have our new folks coming into our webinar to complete the survey. And thank you once again for joining us this evening. This webinar is also being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel. Okay, I think we can move on, but if you need the link again, we can also post the link again in the webinar chat. All right, Futureology. Who are we? Futureology is a team of credentialed school counselors. Each of us has a school counseling credential from an accredited college or university. We're experienced college admissions readers, meaning we have read applications for colleges and universities. My background is I used to be an admissions advisor for Soka University, and I currently read for UC Irvine. We are also data-driven, so that survey you were filling out prior to this presentation, that kind of gives us an idea of what kind of knowledge you know, and this also will help us drive our events and our upcoming events within Futureology. Ways that we can support you, the student: we provide one-on-one college and career counseling appointments. We support school-wide college and career initiatives. We provide free events, presentations, such as the one you're watching right now, and workshops for all CUSD students. Our website has a giant resource library, and we also archive our webinars, such as this one, on our YouTube channel. We also provide on-campus support in our college and career centers. All high schools now within the district have a college and career center that you can visit and get college guidance from the following counselors. So with me today is my colleague, Ms. Nguyen. She's over at Elisa Niguel High School. Myself, Mrs. Espejo. I'm over at Capo Valley and San Clemente. We also have Ms. Yazdani over at San Juan Hills High School, and Ms. Rengifo over at Dana Hills and Tesoro. And we also have Ms. Gardner, who is our coordinator of our college and career program. So before we get started, a few housekeeping items that we want to mention. So if you see a link icon here, that means this is a linked icon. This icon means that there's a linked resource for you. Your cameras and microphones should be turned off. And if you have any questions during the presentation, you can use the Q&A feature to ask questions. And we kindly ask that you save your questions until the end of the presentation. I would just like to emphasize to keep it within the Q&A section, because sometimes we might lose questions within the webinar chat box. So definitely take advantage of the Q&A section of Zoom. And again, this webinar is also being recorded and will be added to our YouTube channel. All right, the objectives of this presentation is that students will understand the steps required to successfully transition from high school to college. So what do you need to know to become a first-year college student after finishing high school? Students will also have the confidence in their ability to successfully transition from high school to college. And tonight, we'll be covering the 4 following items. We're going to go over admissions decisions and what they mean. We'll also go over financial aid package reviews, choosing where to enroll, and also how do you transition from high school senior to a first-year freshman? All right, so let's start out with admissions notifications. So you receive your admissions decisions. Now what? What do each of these admissions decisions mean? So let's get started. Admissions notifications, the notification process, because everything is very much modern now in the 21st century, you should be getting an email notification when you have your decision ready. After you've applied to a university, you may have created a portal to receive your admissions notifications. Typically, you would log in, and then you would receive your admissions decision through that admissions portal, through that student portal. The types of decisions that we'll be going over are admitted, waitlist, and denied. However, even if you're admitted to a university, it's still very important to stay on top of your senior year. So we encourage you to finish senior year strong, even if you've been admitted to a university. All right, to accept your admission. So choosing to accept. So when you finally choose a college, you can choose to accept your admission within your portal. You can choose accept. And remember, every portal, every university handles the acceptance process a little bit differently. And when you accept, you'll be required to submit a deposit. Universities will require you to submit a deposit to hold your spot for the fall 2023 semester. So your deposit is typically due May 1st. Your deposit is also non-refundable. And if you decide that the university that you've been admitted to is not the university for you, or if you've already committed to other universities, you can also decline your admission. So for example, if you've been accepted to, for example, UCLA and UC Berkeley, but you decide to attend UCLA, you can then decline your admission to UC Berkeley. So what if you have been denied? Remember, it's not the end of the world. Just breathe. Colleges do not have a seat for everyone who applies. Consider transfer options with a community college if the school was a competitive top choice. And remember, again, it's not the end of the world, and just also consider your other acceptances as well. However, there is also an option for an admissions appeal. So if you're considering to go this route for appealing your admissions decisions, I would only recommend this if you have new and compelling information that has not been said in your application. So such examples that would be new and compelling information is perhaps you got sick, or some life circumstance may have happened that you weren't able to indicate within the context of your application. There's no need for additional transcripts, mid-year reports, or letters of recommendation needed in an admissions appeal. You just would need to provide new and compelling information to also contextualize your application. If, for example, life circumstances may have gotten in the way. So, for example, if you were sick for a long period of time, or if you were out of the country for a period of time that was not indicated in your original application, you could also mention this in an admissions appeal. And I would only recommend doing this as a last resort. There's no guarantee, even if you submit an admissions appeal, that your admissions will be appealed and changed. So what if you receive the waitlist status? What if your admission status is waitlist? You can choose to accept your spot if this university is a top choice. If you're interested in this university, definitely select that you're interested in staying on the wait list. You may be asked to do additional things in addition to accepting your spot on the wait list. This can be an interview, an additional essay, or any additional material. And remember, if you accept your spot on the wait list, it is not a guarantee for admission. Or you can choose to decline your spot on the wait list. So for example, if you've been accepted to another university that is your top choice, or you're planning to attend that university, you can decline your spot on a university who has waitlisted you, or if that university is no longer in your top choices, you could also decline your spot on the wait list. Another additional thing about the wait list, most of the time you will not hear your status on the wait list until after the May 1st deadline. So basically what happens in admissions is by May 1st, students will need to decide if they're going to commit to their university. University enrollment services will determine how many seats they have left. University enrollment services will look at the waitlist and then make a determination on how they can fulfill their class based on the number of students who are interested on the waitlist. The important thing to note is that you must plan to submit a deposit or commit to a university by May 1st. So even if you are thinking about staying on the waitlist and waiting to hear back from the waitlist, we recommend to commit to a university or college before the May 1st deadline. Because again, staying on the waitlist is not a guarantee for admission. And I see that Ms. Wen has something to chime in. Okay, all right, let's move forward. All right, I will pass the microphone to Ms. Wen, and she will talk about financial aid award review.
Thank you, Mrs. Bejo. Okay, so welcome everybody again tonight. Congratulations to all of you on any of the acceptances or waitlist offers that you've gotten. This is a huge deal and we're really happy to be with you. Let's talk about money and your financial aid offer from these schools, right? So by this point, if you've been accepted to a school, they will have likely provided you with a financial aid award letter. And if they haven't, it should be forthcoming very soon, seeing as how the May 1st deadline is coming up. So let's talk about how to analyze your award offer. And we'll go over a tool that you can use to compare your offers to make the best financial decision for you and your family. So before we go into kind of analyzing a sample award letter, let's talk about some very basic financial aid terms so that we're all on the same page about the types of aid that schools are going to be offering you. These are the three categories that you're going to see most often on your financial aid award letters. The first category would be the favorite category of everybody, which is free money. And this will come in the form of grants and scholarships. So I bet if all of you pull open a financial aid award letter right now from a school, there will be an area towards the top called grants and scholarships. Some of you might have been lucky enough to receive maybe a small grant or a scholarship from the college. If so, congratulations. But this is where you're going to look to see if you get money that you do not have to pay back because grants and scholarships are free money. The second category that you might see on your award letter or offer will be loans. And of course, loans are funds that you will be responsible for repaying when you graduate from college, right? And they're going to come in three different categories, possibly more, but these are the three most prominent categories that you're going to see on your offers. And that's going to come in the form of a subsidized student loan, an unsubsidized student loan, and a parent plus or a federal plus loan. We are going to go into definitions in a little bit, but just kind of breaking it down for you here. The takeaway from this slide is that loans are going to be aid that they might offer to you, but that you will be responsible for paying back. And the federal subsidized and unsubsidized loans are for students, for you to take out that you as a student will be responsible for repaying. And the federal plus or parent plus loans would be loans that your parents would be taking out and that they would be responsible for paying back. So that's a big distinction, okay? And then finally, another category that we're going to find on our award letters is going to be the self-help category, right? And oftentimes in this category, you're going to find work study. And work study might be an amount that they put on your award letter, but we'll talk about this in more detail, but work study is not a promised amount that you're going to get upfront. Work study is an estimate of an amount of money that you might be able to make working part-time on campus as a student. So they're just estimating for you how much you might be able to make should you decide to work on campus. More on this in a second, but let's dive into the anatomy of an award letter. because they can be quite confusing, right? There's so much information, there's so many numbers on here, and it can be quite overwhelming. I know it was for me when I was going to college and graduate school, right? So this is an example of an award letter. This is very similar to what Cal State Long Beach's award letter actually looks like. But this is an example for you of what it might look like. And this probably looks familiar to a lot of you, right? And we're going to break it down piece by piece so that hopefully by the end of this, you have a better understanding of what each component of this letter means so that you can make a better informed decision for yourself when you're making that final decision for a school, okay? So for every school that you were accepted to that you're strongly considering, we need to break down the award letter to make sure that you understand what the cost of attendance is going to be and what your financial responsibility is going to be, right? So at the very top of an award letter is going to be typically the cost of attendance for a school year. And this is the school's attempt at telling you, hey, this is how much it's going to cost roughly for you to attend school next year, right? And these amounts are typically yearly amounts. So this amount you see, for example, here, $37,000, that's a year's worth of tuition at this school, okay? As you can see here, there are two line items, tuition and fees and housing and meals. You can see here that these are what? They are direct costs. This means that these two line items, tuition and fees, the cost of actually taking classes and going to school, and housing and meals, living and eating on campus, are the actual amounts that the school will bill your family for. These are the only two line items on this entire cost of attendance breakdown that you will actually be billed for as a family. So when it comes time to pay for college, tuition and fees, housing and meals, or room and board is what it might be called on some of your award letters. These are the things that you will have to pay and cut a check for, okay? So you can think of it that way. Now, for all of you, if you look at your award letters, you'll find that they also give you additional costs, including books and supplies, transportation, and miscellaneous or other educational costs, okay? And as you can see for this example, these are what would be considered indirect costs. So these are not things that you're going to be billed for from the school, but they are just trying to help you plan in advance and say, listen, you're going to have to buy books for your classes. You're going to have to think about paying for transportation if you have a car and get gas, or have to pay for the bus or a train, right, to ride in the city. And you're going to have money to have fun and go to the movies with your friends on the weekends and maybe go out to eat once in a while. So these are additional costs that they're just estimating for you, but that does not fall into what you're going to get billed for. So remember that, okay? And then what they'll do is they'll sum it all up for you and say, this is the estimated cost of attendance. And in this case, we have $52,798 for this particular university. But of course, that's including these three line items. So if you want to know what you're going to get billed for and what you'll be responsible for paying for to the school, you're going to want to add up tuition and fees and housing and meals. Those are the two things that you're going to want to get a sense of so that you know what you're going to have to pay for directly, okay? So keep that in mind as you're analyzing, is that the cost of attendance will often include these indirect costs where they're just guessing how much you're going to have to put out of pocket for random other things like books and fun and transportation. Now, if you move down in your award letter, you're going to see the first aid category is going to be scholarships and grants. So this is free money. And so they're going to tell you right off the bat what they can offer you for free that you don't have to pay back. And you'll see here all sorts of different grants and scholarships that you might have qualified for. And typically schools will automatically assume that you will accept these and just apply them to your tuition when it comes time to pay, okay? But these are all, again, amounts that you don't have to pay back, and that's going to be calculated into the entire equation to come up with your net price, okay? So if you look at your award letter, you'll notice that after this, they're going to show you a net price. So what is a net price? A net price is what you will be responsible for paying after they have applied all scholarships and grants that they have given you. So let's take that $57,000 number from earlier. They would have subtracted that 30-something thousand dollars in scholarships and grants from this page, right? 17,000 in scholarships, $17,000 in grants, leaves us with $34,000 of free money that they're giving us. So what they did was they subtracted that amount from the cost of attendance and left here, leaves you here with $18,000, okay? But remember, that cost of attendance included those indirect costs. So if you were simply trying to figure out what you're going to get billed for, we want to only add up tuition and fees and housing and meal and subtract the scholarships and grant money from that to get maybe a truer net price for what you'll be billed for. Okay, so just something to keep in mind as well. So that's your net price, is the cost of attendance minus any free money the school will give you. And you all have this on your award letter so that you can see what you might be responsible for paying out of pocket. In addition to the free money, though, a lot of schools will try to offer you loans so that they can help close that gap and help you pay for that remaining net price, right? So if you look at your award letters, you'll see that maybe some of you were offered loans, okay? And let's talk about the different types of loans you're going to get offered. Subsidized loans are the ones we want. And that's because subsidized loans are when the government will actually pay for any interest that has been accrued while you are in college, okay? What happens when you take out a loan is you have to pay interest when you pay it back the loan. That's how people make money off of lending money to people, right? But the beauty of a subsidized loan is that when you pull out that money each semester as a loan, interest will begin to accrue on that amount. And the government will actually pay any interest accrued on this loan while you're in college, which is really nice because that's less money that you're responsible for paying back. Another form of loans that you will be offered is unsubsidized. So you can imagine that unsubsidized means that you'll take out the loan, interest will accrue immediately, and any interest that accrues while you're in college will be on your bill and will be your responsibility to pay back once you graduate and are responsible for paying back these loans, okay? And then finally, you'll see sometimes plus or parent plus or federal plus loan options. And these plus loans are for parents. So the other loans are for you as a student to take on. That's your responsibility. Plus loans are parent loans that are offered to the parent to take on to help you pay for school. So keep that in mind. These are federal loans. So the interest rates are generally really good and quite competitive and oftentimes better than taking out a private educational loan. And so if your parents are deciding how they're going to pay and if they might pull out private loans, a federal plus loan might be a great option because the interest rates tend to be pretty competitive. Okay, so keep that in mind. In addition to that, you're also going to see work study. Like I mentioned earlier, they're going to throw a number in here for you. For example, on this example, it's $1,200 a year, but we can't count this in to the cost or the aid that they're actually providing to you because work study is not a promised amount right off the bat. Work study is an estimation of what you might be able to earn if you were to work on campus. So maybe work study would be beneficial to you if you were to get a job on campus, earn some money, and then you'd be able to help pay for your second semester tuition, okay? But work study, when you see this amount, it's not money that they're going to give to you upfront. So just keep that in mind. So a little bit more about loans, just so that you understand, because it can be very confusing, okay? When we look at our award offers and we see our total award, sometimes what they'll do is they'll tally up your free money with your loans to show you what your total award is, right? So in this case, package A, they're offering a $2,000 grant, a $10,000 grant, a $4,000 grant. That's amazing. And then they have this $8,000 loan for a total award package of $24,000. That seems very handsome, right? Like what a great award package. But keep in mind that that total award is including this $8,000 loan, right? Compared to package B, where you get all these grants and then a $5,000 loan with a total award of $20,000. So for a student looking at this, you might just be zeroing in on total award and you might be like, whoa, wait a minute. This school is giving me $24,000. This school is giving me $20,000. This is obviously the better deal. But if we look closer, we want to be careful because this school is having you pull out more loans. Package A is offering you $8,000 in loans, whereas package B is offering you $5,000. So if you were to accept package A, you would end up owing more when you graduate compared to package B, where you'd be owing $5,000 in student loans. Does that make sense? Let me know if you need some clarification on that in the chat. But we want to make sure that when we're looking at this is that we're looking at the amount of loan, because if we're looking at this and I were to ask you what's based on these two packages, right? Which financial aid package would have the least amount of money to repay? Which would that be? I'd love to see your answer in the chat box. So which of these packages would have the least amount of money that you would have to repay? I mean, I kind of gave you the answer, but you're welcome to put it in the chat box right now. If you put it in the chat, we can see it. Any guesses? Which would have the least amount to repay? Yes, exactly. I'm getting some answers and it's package B because that loan amount is smaller. So we need to be very careful. We're looking at line item by line item, not just total award offered, but how much of that award is going to be loans? How much will I be responsible for paying back? And this is just for 1 year. Keep that in mind. So we have to multiply that by 4, right? Cool. So a couple final thoughts on this. Actually, comparison tool before we go into final thoughts, okay? Let's talk about how you're going to compare your offers. So in order to compare your offers, you're going to want to use some kind of tool where you can compare. I'm going to pull up an account right now. You can compare all of the schools offering you money side by side, okay? So hopefully you're seeing my screen right now. Mrs. Bejo, let me know if you can't, but you all have access to California colleges, and we'll send you directions on how to create this account. But in this account, there's a financial aid tab. I'm going to have you log into this account after today, okay? Go to financial aid, go to after you applied to compare your financial aid offer. All of you, again, have access to this account. We paid for you to have this account as a district. When you get to this page, you're going to click on this link right here, free application for federal student aid if you completed the FAFSA. And when you do that, it's going to open up a Google Sheet for you where you'll make a copy, okay? And that Google Sheet will look like this. And as you can see on the bottom, there's a tab for separate colleges. And this is where you're going to enter in the financial information, your award letter information for each college that you got accepted to. I already filled one in for College One. I put one in for Cal State Long Beach and put in some information, right? I put in tuition fees, how much room and board would be. I left out book supplies, transportation, and personal expenses just to see the true cost of what I would be billed for from the school. And you can do that as well. I put in that I was offered $4,000 in Pell Grant. So they gave me a net price of $46,000 because they subtracted the grant from the cost of attendance. I put down that my parents had $5,000 saved for me. So we put that in so that we know we're putting that towards our tuition. And then I also put in that I'm going to take on an unsubsidized loan of $5,000 and that I agreed with my family that that was a good idea. And then we also agreed that I'm just using a fictional student, obviously, that the parents would take on a $10,000 loan. So what it does is it takes your net price, the cost of attendance minus all the grants and scholarships, and then it also subtracts any additional loans or savings that you had for college, and it comes up with a remaining balance for you. And this is what you're going to have to come up with, right? After you've taken out loans, after you've put in your savings to pay for college, this is the amount you would be left with to pay for college. So if I were to do quickly a second college, right? And we were to enter in other information, $150,000 for room and board seems like too much. Let's do $15,000. How about that? Let's say we got a $2,000 Pell Grant, a $1,000 middle class scholarship. Let's say we're putting in $5,000 for savings and taking out maybe $5,000 in loans, and parents are taking out a plus loan, right? So if we do that, this will be for college B. So what you can do is go to your summary and you'll see that all the information you put in will line up column by column so that you can compare school by school what it's going to cost for you to go. And in this case, as you can see, ABC College, my remaining balance is negative 2,000, right? So this is way better than having to make up $26,000 to pay to go to this school, right? So this is going to be a very useful tool for all of you to use so that you can compare side by side what it's going to cost you to go to college X versus college Y versus college Z. Okay. So let us know if you need help using this tool. We're more than happy to walk you through this process. I know it's tedious, but we walk students through this all the time and we can help punch in the information for you. Okay. So final thoughts on financial aid offers, okay, before we move on. Remember that you're going to be billed on a semesterly or quarterly basis. So that amount that you see, the cost of attendance, that $50,000, you're not going to pay it up front. It's usually broken down by terms. So if your school goes on a semester term or calendar, then you'll pay your tuition and fees each semester. So it'll be broken up, right? If it's quarterly, like at the UCs, then you'll be asked to pay your tuition quarterly. And so let's say you're supposed to pay $25,000 a year for that school. If it's on a semester basis, that's twice a year. So 25,000 divided by 2, then you're left with like 12,500 that you have to pay each semester. Keep in mind that a lot of schools have payment plans. So if your family can't quite make that in 2 lump payments, you might want to talk to financial aid to see if you can do installments instead and pay it across multiple payments across the school year. Financial aid offices are usually pretty open to working with families if they can. So please work with them to do that. And remember that you do have to accept or deny the loans that are offered to you. So in your portal, you can go into your awards and you'll be able to accept or deny the loans that are offered to you. Please excuse the typo right there. We're going to fix that. And also, you can adjust the amount of loans that they offer you. So let's say they offer you a $5,500 unsubsidized student loan, and you're like, you know what, I don't need that much, but I do need to pull out $2,000 in loans. You can actually adjust the amount of the loan and then accept that amount. So you're not required to accept the full loan amount. You can actually change that. And the same applies for your parents for the Parent Plus loan. Okay, so these are just some things so that you can be a little more confident going into this whole financial aid award letter and accepting your offers portion. And again, please come to us if you have questions, okay? So some additional things before I pass this back to Mrs. Spejo for paying for college. Again, we do want to consider those other miscellaneous indirect costs, travel, books, miscellaneous. The colleges do try to put that on your cost of attendance, and it is something that you have to plan for because, of course, if you go far away, you're going to need to fly home or take a bus home, right, or drive home. You're going to have to pay for books for your classes, and that can cost a lot, although you can find used options online to save. And then miscellaneous fees, you want to have some pocket money for fun because we want you to have a good time too and pay for emergencies as well, right? Maybe an emergency Uber one night, getting home from, a night out with friends, whatever it might be. So that is something you want to budget for, but just know that you're not going to get billed for those expenses. You can maybe get a job this summer. You can work on getting a job once you get onto campus and work on campus to make some money, okay? But there are definitely things that you can do to save money and earn money throughout the next few years as well, so that you can pay for these expenses moving forward, okay? Remember that you will be filling out a financial aid application every year, just like you did this year for this coming school year. You have to complete a financial aid application every single year while you're in college and beyond if you go to graduate school and business school or law school or whatever, okay? So remember to complete your financial aid application every single year that you're in school. That was a lot of information. Hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to pass this. Actually, no, I'm not going to pass this back to Mrs. Spejo. I forgot. I'm going to go over this as well, and then I'll pass it on to Mrs. Spejo afterwards. Okay, so that was financial stuff. Let's talk about choosing where to enroll, right? We're analyzing costs. We know where we've been accepted. We have to make a big decision. So how do we make this decision? How do we decide this college over this college? Of course, step one is financial fit. Well, this is not step one, but it's a very important step because we need to make sure we can afford it, right? So we already went over that and how we're going to analyze the cost and how we can compare the cost of going to different schools. Now, in addition to that, we need to review those fit factors that we've been stressing with you for all of high school: academic fit, social fit, financial fit. this is the time for you to do your research. This is the time for you to go on college campus tours. And if they are booked, which a lot of colleges are right now, go on a self-guided tour. That's better than nothing. Go on a virtual tour if you can't fly out there or drive out there. But we need to do as much research as we can because this is a huge commitment for you. So we want you to tour the campus if possible so that you can have conversations on campus with admissions, with the financial aid office if you need adjustments to your offer or have questions about that, right? But we want to make sure that you are doing as much research as you can up front. And one of the big ways that you can do that, actually, let me pause there for a second. I would actually invite you to do the kind of research that we tell juniors to do, because maybe you didn't do this already, right? But I would be looking at the majors at each of your school for whatever major you chose, if you chose one. I would be comparing the departments, like the psych department, for example. Let's say you're a psych major and you got accepted. I would be comparing San Diego State psychology department to UC Santa Barbara, San Diego, or UC Santa Barbara's psychology department. They have websites for all of their departments. And I would be researching research opportunities, what the major requirements are for psychology at San Diego State versus UC Santa Barbara, so that you can begin to understand what you're getting into and what the differences are between the schools academically, right? That's really important to make sure that academically it actually is aligning with what you want to study. And you might find that one major at one school requires way more math, for example, than that major at another school. And maybe you're not a math person, and that might be the deciding factor for you to go to the other school, right? So we're going to do that academic research. We're going to go to admitted student events. You were probably all invited to admitted students day at your school. Hopefully you were able to attend if they already happened. And if they haven't, you should go if you can. This is a great way for you to learn more about the school, for them to really showcase what they have to offer. And I strongly advise that you go to these admitted student events for the schools that are maybe not high on your list, but that you're considering. We need to give all schools a fair shot, and we can't just rule out a school because it doesn't have the reputation that you want, because you never know, you could be surprised by what the school has to offer. So do as much research as you can and show up for as many events as you can, because again, this is a big decision and you're going to be at this school for the next 4 years of your life. So you want to know going into it that you did everything that you can to research, and going to these admitted student events are a really great opportunity to do that. Okay. And this is a very important date. May 1st is, as I'm sure you know at this point, your deadline to submit an intent to register. It is called the SIR day, or the commitment day, right? But May 1st is your deadline to commit to a school. Even if you're waitlisted at 5 schools, you have to commit to a school that you were accepted to, okay? And if you commit to a school and you're accepted off the wait list, that's fine. You just lose your deposit at that school that you accepted, and you can go ahead and go to the school that you were accepted on the waitlisted for. Okay. But this is your deadline to notify schools that you are attending in the fall, and you will be required most likely to pay a deposit at that time, which is usually $100 to maybe $300. For the UCs, it's a $250 SIR deposit fee. If you got a fee waiver when you applied to certain schools, let's say the UCs, if they gave you a fee waiver when you applied and you didn't have to pay for your applications, there is probably an option for you to defer the deposit until you receive your financial aid, and you can pay that later on in the towards the fall when you get your actual financial aid. So keep that in mind if you got a fee waiver, is that you could, in theory, defer your deposit so that you don't have to pay a deposit right now. Okay. That's it for me for now. I'm going to pass this on to Mrs. Bejo to talk about transitioning successfully and the next steps that you will have to complete once you've decided where you're going to go.
All right. Thank you so much for that thorough information, Ms. Nguyen. Now we're going to talk about, well, now we picked a college. What are our next steps to enroll and to secure our seat for fall 2023? Let's get started. I think this is the wrong slide. I think we're going, oh, there we go. I have chosen now what. So let's review all of your enrollment to-dos. And you can check your enrollment to-do list in your admitted student portal. So basically, some of your enrollment to-dos might include like your housing application, submitting final documents, including your final transcript from high school, medical records, vaccination records, attending orientation, setting up a time for orientation, placement testing, and so forth. And again, you can find your enrollment to-do checklist within your admitted students portal. Okay, all right, housing. So if we're thinking about living on campus, so I would say research housing and meal plan options on the school's website. Basically, for first year freshmen, sometimes you might have a list of different options for different types of housing available. You can pick out themed housing, you can pick out whether you want 2 roommates, if you want 1 roommate, or if you want a single. And keep in mind, if you have a single, that might be a higher cost. And also just kind of keep in mind what kind of living situation you would like to have. Submit your housing application and pay deposit by the school's deadline. Typically deadline is around May 1st. So in addition to committing to the school that you're attending to by submitting your enrollment deposit, you will also pay an additional deposit to secure your spot with student housing. So definitely take a deep dive into what kind of housing options are available for first year freshmen, and then make a decision to decide what kind of housing you would like. Sometimes when you're applying for housing, sometimes you'll fill out a roommate matching type of survey, so they can match personalities that will meld well together. Or if you have a friend that is going to the same school as you, you can also request roommates as well. And remember, when it comes to campus housing, some campuses are first come, first serve. So if you already have that school in mind that you want to attend, I would advise taking care of the housing application, getting that completed once you submit your deposit for the university. You'll also have to sign a housing contract and agreement in addition to applying for housing. And again, usually when you're applying for housing, you can also notate living preferences. A lot of times schools will have a roommate matcher, roommate finder based on living preferences. Like, are you a night owl? Do you like to study up late at night? Are you an early riser? Do you like to sleep in? So usually schools are pretty good about matching student lifestyles. So the vibe of the housing can go fairly well. Housing assignments are generally released a few weeks before the fall term starts, so you have an idea of where you'll be living on campus. All right, more on housing. So what do I need? So I've been offered housing. So what do I need to bring with me on campus? Most dorms, most residential halls will come with a desk, closet, or dresser, and a twin-size bed. The photo on here is part of Soka University's residential living type of situation. You can see in the photo, one-size bed, and the student has decorated their dorm and accordingly to make themselves feel at home. Some things you need to bring would probably be a study or a desk lamp, computer, laptop, twin bedding, toiletries and bath items. You can bring a TV. A lot of universities have basic cable set up, full-length mirror, laundry detergent, because you will also be doing laundry on campus as well. And a lot of times your school will have a recommended list what to bring on campus. Sometimes you might need to provide your own desk chair. Some schools might not provide a desk chair. When I was a student at San Francisco State University, we had to provide our own desk chairs. So just be aware and be cognizant of what you might need to bring with you on campus and what you probably would have to shop for prior to moving in on campus. And typically moving in on campus is usually about a week or a few days before school starts, so they can allow you some time to settle in and to adjust to on-campus living before you start classes. All right, transportation. If you're going away to college, definitely find out what kind of transportation services are available to students and find out if those are an additional fee or if there are also free to students as well. When I was working at Soka University, we had a transit service. We had a private shuttle service to shuttle students to Target, to the movies, over in Aliso, and that was free for students. You can see the photo here of the shuttle at Yale University. This takes students all over New Haven, which is the city that Yale is located in, and that is also free of service to students. So find out if you're planning to go away to college and public transit might be an option for you. Find out if you have to pay an additional fee, if you get a student discount, or if it's free to you as a student. Find out if you're going away to college, if there are free shuttles to the airport. So for example, when I was a grad school student at Loyola Marymount University and also working in admissions at SoCA, we also had private vans that would take you to the airport in the event you had to go home for the holidays, break, and so forth. Also, find out what rideshare services are available. Rideshare services such as Lyft and Uber may not be available in all cities, but find out what are the most common rideshare services available to you on campus. Also, find out if you as a student really need a car to get around. So sometimes you might find out that some schools you might, excuse me for a second. Some schools might not allow first-year students to have a car on campus. So find out if you really need a car to get around, because if you're on a college campus that is known for being a college town, you might need to find out if you need a car to get around. Also, learning where the nearest airport, bus, or train station is to get home and how far out is it. So for example, if you're planning to go to a school like UC Merced, the nearest airport is San Jose, and that's about a 2-hour to 90-minute drive from UC Merced. If you're going to Loyola Marymount University, the closest airport is LAX, but we're all local here. But for example, if you're going to school in Boston, Logan Airport is connected to a lot of the transit lines, and there's a lot of easy access to get into Logan Airport. Okay, next slide. All right, on-campus jobs. So we talked earlier about work study. So campus jobs, you'll be allowed to work part-time, and you can get a job on campus. So because this is part-time work, you're only allowed to work about maximum 20 hours a week. A lot of times on average, students will tend to work around 10 hours a week. I never have seen this case working as a work study student in university or managing work study students when I was working at a university. I mostly saw students on average work around between 10 to 15 hours at most, but maximum, because it is part-time work, is a 20-hour maximum. Basically for on-campus jobs, the benefit of working on campus is because you are a student first, your supervisor will definitely understand your needs as a student first. So getting time off to study, getting time off to prepare for a final, perhaps like using downtime to just read or catch up on class. There's a lot of flexibility with having a job on campus. Examples of such campus jobs include being a TA for a classroom, being a student who guides prospective high school students on campus tours. You can be a research assistant, office assistant. You can work in the library, sorting books. The most common job that a lot of students have are food services, because food services runs from 6 a.m. to 9 o'clock in the evening. So there's a lot of flexibility and hours available for students. And also free food is also a nice benefit too. Bookstore, you can also have a retail job working at the bookstore, either as a cashier or just sorting out the books at the bookstore. So there's a lot of opportunities to make some pocket money, make some personal money, get some spending money by working on campus. All right, freshman orientation. Congratulations, you're finally in. Freshman orientation is mandatory. This will give you an opportunity to sign up for classes for fall 2023. It typically happens around summertime, right before the fall term begins. So basically, orientation will help you familiarize yourself with on-campus resources. You'll be able to meet future classmates, professors, advisors, and so forth when you're on freshman orientation. If you're unable to travel for freshman orientation, there are also virtual options available. Just connect with your admissions office or Office of Student Affairs to find out what are some virtual options in the event you cannot attend a summer orientation. Or sometimes summer orientation, depending on the school, might be a week or two before school starts. So as you're moving in, freshman orientation could also be occurring at that time as well. But freshman orientation, super important, mandatory to attend, and this will give you a sense of campus life. What are your campus resources, meeting your future classmates, professors, and also signing up for your fall 2023 courses. All right, placement testing. Some four-year universities may require you to take placement testing for your entry-level English and entry-level math. For the Cal States, this is known as the ELM and the EPT. And this will be your placement for your English course and your math course when you start off as a first-year freshman. You may be able to opt out. You may be able to opt out of these placement tests with certain SAT or ACT scores, certain AP scores, or completion of certain AP classes. And final documents. Final documents also include submitting test scores. These test scores include your AP test scores, since a lot of you, some of you might be taking an AP test in May. Those test scores will be available in July, and you can submit those to the university via your College Board account. Those will be made available in July, and you can submit those scores via College Board. Submitting your final transcripts. It is your responsibility to submit your final high school transcripts to school that you will be attending in fall 2023. This is to verify that you finished senior year strong and that it shows your graduation status that you have officially graduated from high school. Most capital schools will use parchment, so be sure to verify this with your school counselor. And also, if you've completed any additional college coursework at Saddleback, IVC, or OCC, submit those college transcripts to the university you're applying to if you have final grades from those colleges, so you can also get the credit applied towards your university. All right, so if you have any additional support, additional guidance on figuring out what are your next steps, what you need to do to transition from a high school student to a first-year freshman, you can also scan the QR code here to sign up for a one-on-one appointment with a Futurology counselor. We're available on campus, and you can also sign up for an online Zoom appointment with one of us. Also, for those of you who've attended our presentation at the beginning, we had a pre-survey. Now it's time to complete the post-survey. You can either scan the QR code here, or you can also click the link in the chat as well to access the post-survey. It should take not too long, maybe about a minute or so. So we'll give you about until like 6:56 to complete the post-survey.
And we really do appreciate you completing this post survey because, again, it helps inform our work to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and that you learned, hopefully what we intended for you to learn from tonight. It's really important for our team. So we do appreciate the few minutes that you're willing to spare to complete this post survey for us. We appreciate it. Thank you. And then once you're done completing that, we're going to hang back for Q&A in case any of you have any remaining questions about what to do next or what's in store for all of you.
All right, and you can drop your questions in the Q&A box here so we can easily see and read your questions, and we're more than happy to answer them.
I already see a bunch of responses coming in for the post survey. So again, thank you so much for your time. It really does help inform our work. So we do appreciate it.
All right, we have our first question here. It's from Rochelle. I found the financial aid letters confusing. Is there such a thing as a grant loan?
A grant loan, no. So, well, maybe it's called a grant loan. I would have to see it, but if there's the word loan in the name at all, then it's borrowed money, right? So we would have to look at it to see specifically what you're talking about. You're welcome to send a screenshot to our team, and we can look at it, or you can schedule an appointment with your futurology counselor and we can kind of dive into it together. But I've never heard of a grant loan. And if you see the word loan in it, that's money that you're going to have to pay back.
All right, we have another question from Danielle. This is off topic. However, we made an error on the FAFSA form, a pretty drastic error. We corrected. Will her financial aid packages be refigured?
Yeah. So if you made the correction on the form, right, and resubmitted it, that's the first step. So you want to make sure that you give FAFSA some time to process that application. And then you're going to want to reach out to financial aid at the school that you intend to go to and let them know that you made that correction and ask for a reevaluation. And they should receive the new FAFSA information, but you're going to want to reach out to the financial aid office again at the school to let them know that that change was made and to ask for reconsideration of your offer. And they can work with you after that. So that's good that you started the correction process. So I had a question in the chat box. What about tips for students with special needs like type 1 diabetes, right? So maybe you have a 504 plan at school right now or an IEP, or you have special needs and need accommodations, right? This is a great time for you to reach out to the office or department at your university that supports students with disabilities, right? And every university will have an office that supports students with special needs. And that is where I would go first. And if you need help locating that at your specific university, you can contact one of us and we can help find it with you. But that's where I would reach out, because there will be an office that you can reach out to for further support to see maybe if you can implement, for example, some accommodations and work with the university in that regard to get additional support.
Yeah, definitely contacting the Office of Student Affairs so you can also find out what accommodations can be made for your students. Okay, we have another question in the Q&A from Ethan. My college portal showed an estimated cost of attendance, but many of them do not provide any financial aid information. Is this because I did not receive any, or because they have not inputted it yet?
Yeah, so this is the most confusing part, because sometimes your financial aid award is located in your student portal. So where you went to find out if you got accepted, right? Sometimes the university has an entirely different portal to find your financial aid award offer, and you'd have to go to the financial aid page sometimes to log into that portal to see your actual award offer. So that would be the first step. Is I would actually go to the school's financial aid page on their website, and every school has a financial aid page, to see if there's a student login from that site. Some of the Cal States do this, for example, which can be very confusing. So that's where I would start. You should actually have a breakdown offer like the one that I showed on the screen. Every student is provided with that type of offer, even if it's zeros across the board, right? And it's like no grants, no scholarships, no loans. They still are required to provide you with that offer. So if they haven't provided you with that yet and you can't locate it, check out the financial aid page on the school's website. And if you can't find it there, call them. Okay, there are people there to pick up the phone, unless it's San Diego State, because they don't have a phone number. They have a Zoom room, and you have to wait in the Zoom room and you have to be patient. Okay. I'm not trying to, drag them, but they don't have a phone number, but most schools do. I would call and tell them your situation, have your student ID ready to go so that you can give them your student information and they can tell you where to go to locate your offer. Because there might be an error with your FAFSA too. So again, call the financial aid office.
And B, I was just going to add too, just ensure that that was one of the schools you added to your financial aid application. So if you didn't add it to your FAFSA or your California DREAM Act, then they didn't know that you were hoping to get a financial aid package. So it must be on your financial aid application in order to get a financial aid package. That can always be updated. So ensure that you log in and add that school, or just double check it, make sure that you have that school on your FAFSA. Once you add it, it'll take, what would you say, about 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully, to get a financial aid package from the school.
Yeah. 100%. Sorry that I didn't mention that, but yeah, make sure that you added it to your FAFSA or California Dream Act in the first place. Yeah, San Diego State, man, confusing. And they're the one that you can't call. I tried actually today with a student. I could not find a number for the life of me. They do have a Zoom room that they expect you to go into and wait. And when we waited, it was 40 students ahead of us in line. So do it when you have some time and just put it in the background and watch TV or something. Any other questions? This is so exciting. I know it's kind of stressful, but it's also very exciting for all of you. So we're so excited for all of you. And hopefully this will help you kind of make a final decision. So Aiden says, we noticed a very high expected family contribution on the offer plan. Is this normal? Yeah, I mean, so the expected family contribution was based off of your financial aid application that you submitted, either the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. And that's a number that they came up with, the U.S. Department of Ed came up with, based on what you provided from your 2021 tax returns, right? So a lot of our families in the district are, are upper middle class, and, their expected family contributions tend to be high. But of course, everybody is different. If you think that it's too high, or if you are, a little, I don't know, if you don't think that it's correct, right? I would again contact financial aid directly to see if they can reevaluate. Or if there's anything else that you need to add, maybe somebody lost a job, or maybe your income has changed, and you could see if you can ask to have your award reevaluated to see if they might offer you some additional aid. I know the financial aid part is the most confusing and the most stressful. I know it's scary for a lot of you, but you have options no matter what, right? And if you find that maybe all of your colleges are just financially not possible, which can happen sometimes, right? That's okay. We have other options to make college more accessible and affordable. Of course, Saddleback and IBC offers the Promise program, and you still have time to apply for that. May 1st is the deadline. But that would be 2 years of $0 for college. That would maybe allow you time to save up to maybe transfer to your college for junior year and senior year, right? If cost really is a factor, if it really is like, man, this is off the table, we can't afford this, just know that your dream of graduating from University X is not squashed. It just might look a little different. And just know that the community college system is definitely a pathway to that, if you find that cost is a prohibitive factor for you, okay? But that dream of graduating from the college that you got into is still attainable. Again, it just might look different. Any other questions? We have a little bit more time, and would be happy to hang back if you have any further questions at all. Feel free to pop them in the Q&A. And of course, if you don't have any questions, you're welcome to log off and enjoy your evening.
Now, this presentation will be on our YouTube channel, and we'll be uploading it sometime tomorrow. And all attendees will also get a copy of the slides as well, if you'd also like to access that website we were talking about, or you can also access the Excel spreadsheet where you can compare financial aid offers.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see. You're very welcome. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Good luck, everybody. Congratulations again. Thank you, Holden.
Hey, thank you so much for attending.
Thanks, Abigail.